Shanghai GDG is a very interesting developer community.
I'm glad somebody has asked this question.
This is where the magic happens.
This is primarily a question and answer show. So if any of you out there would like to ask questions.
All right. We are on. We are on.
And me again.
Yes. All right. We got a thumbs up. We are on. We are in our, we apologize for being late. We're in our brand new, newly configured studio. So let's just do quick introductions. To my right, your left, probably. We have the irrepressible Colt McCandless. Irrepressible.
That's what they used to call me in high school.
To my immediate left, we have the irresponsible Wolf Dobson.
That's me.
And then over more, we've got the iridescent John McCutcheon.
I like that.
Yeah, thanks.
Now
All
you
right.
started a trend. We're going to have to do this next week.
So we are going to jump right into things because I know we're a little late. We've got a lot on our agenda.
We do.
I wanted to follow up with basically 3 answers to questions or comments that were on our YouTube stream from last time. Let's see. The first was someone said, hey, you guys should do this as a regular thing. And that is our plan. Our plan is every second Thursday, unless, we're sick or something, we're going to be here. So, put it on your calendar and we'll start scheduling these out more. And this can sort of be a thing.
And also
until
tell
we
your
get
friends.
canceled. Yeah, tell your friends.
Can we get canceled?
Probably.
I mean, we don't have any corporate sponsorship or anything.
Well, yeah, there's no corporation involved in this at all, is there?
We're getting a big yes.
Yes. We can, in fact.
It's already
we could
happened.
get canceled
Yeah, it's
in
like,
the middle
I'm just
of
going
this
to take my
program.
mic off. It's over
Right
now.
Let's see. The second question was about my laptop cover. And so for those of you who are wondering, it is from Okami, which was a fantastic game that came out. It was by Capcom.
Yeah, it was Capcom.
I guess, was it Clover Studio was the developer, Capcom
That
publisher?
sounds about right. It was a PS2 game?
Came out for the PS2. It was a beautiful game. The gameplay was really interesting, really innovative, and it was darn fun. And they're actually re-releasing it this year for the PlayStation 3.
Oh, cool.
So if you have never had a chance to play Okami, and I consider that a travesty.
They also released it for the Wii.
They
Yes,
did
they
A couple
did.
years ago, yeah.
And it is Zelda-esque in its play, but with just a fantastic art style.
Yeah. The art is fantastic. The drawing on the screen with your magical pen is fantastic.
Yeah.
Wasn't that actually
It
one
sounds hokey, but it's really well done.
Oh, it's awesome.
And so
Todd's a romantic.
I think it made a lot of best game of the year lists.
I think it did.
It's
It was
a
one
really
of those,
great
like,
game.
it was a great game that just sort of wasn't as commercially successful as it should have been, and I consider that still an injustice. And I'm on a single-handed crusade to fix it. So go buy Okami. Let's see.
For the PlayStation 3, which is not out yet.
Yes. Well, PlayStation 3's out.
Well, that's true. PlayStation 3 is out.
I don't have one. That was not a hint, Sony. I can't accept gifts.
He's not hardcore.
Maybe you might not want to mention that during the games chat.
Yeah,
that is
kind
true.
of eliminates a little bit of your
I
street
don't really
cred.
play games as such.
I've never played a game.
Our third issue, I kind of got called out on Google Plus for basically sort of dodging the hey, how am I going to be able to sort of have my single login everywhere question. So I sort of thought about it as he's right. I sort of skipped the question. And so I put together a little demo that is hopefully not going to crash that I'm going to try and show right now. So, hey, Lewis, can we switch to my laptop? Let's see if we can show this.
Aren't we supposed to call him Jimmy?
Jimmy?
Is that what we're supposed to do? Jimmy, can I get that on the live feed?
All right, are we on? Okay. Woohoo! All right, so if everything's working, you should see 2 browsers here. And so basically the answer to, hey, what do I do if I want to log in multiple places? How do I know that this is the same user? Is to use Google+. Use the Google+ identity. It's available right now on the web. And it's in developer preview right now for iOS, and I believe it's coming soon for Android. I just wanted to show you, really quickly how this kind of thing might work. Let's say you're a game developer and you've got a web version of your game, your iOS version of the game. Maybe they're not exactly the same, but you want to award players, a reward in one game for completing tasks in another or something like that. Basically, we would use, log in. I'm going to say yes. And after I've logged in, basically we have this, giant number that is my user ID, and that is unique. And you can use that basically as sort of a key in your database to track any user properties you want. So here I'm going to have my little saved game as hello world or hello word. All right, let's save that. And now I'm going to go over to the iPhone and let's sign in. And hopefully, let's say allow access. Wait for it. And there it is. So basically, all I'm doing here is, again, I'm just sort of querying the same database using my Google Plus identity as sort of the key, the thing that identifies me. And, I can go back and forth. I can now say I am level 1. And I will save that to the server. And then at some point later, I come back to, whatever version of the game is on the web, and I can refresh that, and, I can go back and forth. So
now, quick question for you, Todd.
Sure.
So this is using, what is the authentication protocol that Google Plus is using?
OAuth 2.
Fantastic. So this means that effectively anyone developing with this protocol won't actually have to write login code or anything like that, right?
That is correct.
Excellent.
And that is good because it saves you from having to deal with all the security issues of, I've got to secure the user's password on my server, and I got to do it in a way that makes sure it doesn't get hacked and blah, blah. We sort of deal with most of that for you.
Well, which is a good point, too, is that you guys saw on the live feed that token which identified Todd. It's worth pointing out for security purposes, you shouldn't store the user's password and username around. Let OAuth take care of that, but you definitely will need to make sure that token, that user token, is cached somewhere on your server to connect them from whatever instance they are to whatever login they're using.
Yeah. In a real situation, I would probably, I think for the purposes of this demo, which is totally insecure and don't actually do it, I'm just sending down my user ID and saying, hey, this is me. Really what you want to be sending down is a token that you can then use on the server side to say, this person, let's find out who this person really is.
Well,
and then use the session ID or something
exactly,
to kind of keep track of that.
You should use your own session rather than the authentication, rather than the access token using OAuth 2.
Yeah, after you've logged in.
Once you've logged in, you generate your own session key and then use that to identify the player. And then you'll also be able to tell the difference between the player on the phone and the player on the browser because they'll have different session keys.
Now, are those session keys, is that an easy thing to grab through the Plus API? Or
No, this is, you should generate your own session key.
So when the user logs in...
Once they've logged in, you've gone through the OAuth flow, you've got their access token, and if you, depending on which flow you use, you might also get a refresh token. Then at that point, you should probably generate your own session ID.
So if you have to generate a session ID, do you have to do that in a secure way, or can it be...
Honestly, it can really...
anything?
I mean, session IDs are session IDs, right? I mean, MD5 hash your favorite random number and send that on down. It just has to be something that every time you make a connection, you say, by the way, this is me. This is the guy I authenticated to do this.
I mean, as a general rule, we say pass everything down as securely as possible.
Yeah.
All of Google is.
Well, right.
But if it's on me to generate a session ID...
Well, yeah, your session ID shouldn't be like 1.
How about the MD5 sum of 0?
Yes, exactly. And then the other thing about that is that the access token will eventually expire, but you can get a new one with a refresh token, or if you're operating inside like a gadget or some other mechanism like that, it'll actually auto-refresh for you. If you use our client libraries, which we strongly recommend you do, we spent a long time hassling with this so that you don't have to. So we have client libraries in Ruby, Python, Go, Java, Android. Lots. Whatever you need, we probably have one of those.
Right.
If you don't, you should suggest it. We'll look into it.
So while I'm sure our audience who is logged in to find out all about games is thrilled with this OAuth 2 talk, I'm going to move on to another subject.
Well, real quick though, is
Yes.
this demonstration here? Can the people at home grab this? Can they play with this?
I would not give this to the people at home just because, like I said, we're essentially trusting the client to tell me who their user ID is. Really, I should be doing a secure version that only trusts the client to send an OAuth token and then verify that on the server.
Got it.
But then that involves,
Fair enough.
cleaning up some server code that I didn't feel like doing. So.
All right.
All right, so we are going to actually try a little structure this time around. I think we also got called out for babbling quite a bit last time, which is kind of the whole agenda anyway. But we saw
It
Taskmaster
actually
Todd.
says right here,
agenda.
Yeah,
Babel.
Babel.
Yeah, exactly.
But we thought we'd try something different. We're gonna have. We need a catchier name for this, but like the 5 for 5 section, where we are going to.
That's pretty catchy.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right.
5 for 5.
I've got a
five,
little
5 by 5.
5 by
There you go,
5.
5 by
Can we do
5.
like an F cubed? 5, 4, 5.
I don't know. I just feel like I'm in Aliens at that point.
Yeah,
We're
5
in
by
the slot,
5.
5 by 5.
There you go.
There you go. Cool.
So
We'll let you do your thing.
thanks. Here's the idea. Here's the idea. We've got 5 topics.
Okay.
We're going to talk about each one of them for 5 minutes. I'm going to start the timer.
Oh man,
And,
there's a
what?
timer.
There's a timer, so
How
that
can we
when
get
it
off
goes up,
topic?
The people asked for structure, and this is how we're doing.
this is what we're going to do, and they
Oh,
might say
You've gone too far, though.
I might have. We'll tell you what. We'll start it, see what happens, and we'll probably change it all next
Wait,
time.
This is
when
like
is
one of
this
those
gonna
5
happen?
minutes in movies where it's actually like 15 minutes, and they just keep cutting back to the red digital readout. This has gone back up a little bit.
The timer's gonna explode in 5 minutes.
Yes.
20 minutes later, the timer's gonna explode in 5 minutes.
Still 1 minute left. Let's do this.
All right,
Sorry.
here we go. Topic number 1.
Topic number 1.
All right, Cole, you have kids.
I do have children.
I have children.
I have a
you
kid.
have children.
I am a kid.
You are a kid
Yeah.
at heart.
You remain a child, both emotionally.
Yeah.
So
Stunted in growth.
So yeah, I mean, basically, I've sort of come to the realization that this is starting to become a trend where people that are parents have been or are hardcore gamers, and so I'm kind of curious as to whether you think the fact that gamers are growing up and having children is going to somehow affect the games industry, either the games that are made or how it affects us as consumers.
Well, I know one of the things that happened. My daughter's old enough now that we can actually play games with a fair amount of complexity in them, and so I sat her down with my Dreamcast and was like, "Okay, let's play some games." And we started playing. We played like weird games like Pen Pen Dry Isolon and like strange Japanese things, and we also and we played fighting games, which she loves, and that was kind of the first time I really got proper back talk from my daughter was smack talk about. It's like every time she beat me or especially if she pushed me off the ledge, she would go ha ha. It's like, where did you learn this?
Your daughter is Nelson?
She is a little shorter, but one of the things that came to mind though was that actually how difficult that control system is. That when you're an analog joystick and a bunch of buttons, it's not a natural thing. It's absolutely a learned skill, and it's something that I spend way too much of my life learning how to be good at. So when we were playing things like Sonic Adventure and Rayman 2 and things like that, she just had a terrible time lining up the camera in jumps and getting her guy to run straight and figuring out that you move the camera and then move your guy kind of thing. Run forward and move the camera.
That generation of 3D games, the cameras were difficult. Just in general, they've gotten a lot smarter and smoother, and
but she has the same problem when we sit down and play like Dragon Age. She can figure it out and she's getting better at it. But it's one of those things where it's learning thing. When you hand her something that's on touch, when she has an Nexus 7 and she's playing Plants vs Zombies, the distance between action and the what I want to do and what I can do. There's no learned skill in there. It's like, I want to put that there. Click. So I think it's certainly driving me to reevaluate the way what kinds of interfaces are good, what kinds of interfaces are natural, and it's interesting to me how clunky and old some of those UI conventions are at this point.
For me, I think the big thing has been, I know when we were all growing up, sort of video games were sort of taboo. It was kind of the geeky thing, right? I mean, we spent a lot of time locked in our rooms staring at some glowing TV that probably gave us, some sort of radiation in our brain.
And being told by our parents that video games would never
get us
we need real
on-
jobs.
Yeah.
you'd never get a YouTube TV show discussing games.
And
Exactly.
so what I've noticed is this. I mean, games are mainstream now. I mean, I remember the first time that I actually saw an advertisement for a video game on television. It blew my mind. And today, and this is what my wife and I constantly go back and forth to, like, I go out of my way to indoctrinate my children to video games because it's the social norm now, right? If your child is not playing video games, they're actually kind of, in some cases, left out of what society is doing, right? It was like growing up, if you didn't watch The Simpsons, right? There was a dialogue that you could not have at school with the rest of the kids. You weren't part of that social environment. And games are that social environment today. And so for me, like, it's been something I've had to force myself to do, because children, you want them outside, you want them running and eating Play-Doh and stuff like that.
You're going to sit down and you're going to play
and you're going to
Mario.
play your games today. This is history 101. Beat Bowser.
Well, and I find that I have an attitude that I'm much, and this is totally kind of sure thing, I'm less concerned about sort of like content level and appropriateness as in terms of quality. It's like,
that's what I was wondering. Is like my daughter's still a little young for games, but I've started looking at like what games are out there for kids.
and it hurts.
There's a lot that just aren't very good, and
Well, you just sit there and going like, this is not a game. You can't play this because it annoys me. It's like let's bring on something decent. And that like actually the Mario new Super Mario Brothers with the 4 people playing at the same time. Like my wife and I and my daughter will all sit around and play this game. And since it's got the catch up feature where she can like when it gets hard, she just bubbles and follows wherever we're going. It's really good, and it's appropriate. But I also have her playing Dragon Age, which is probably not appropriate. I'm a bad parent.
yeah.
ESRB disapproves.
Yes, exactly.
I was actually saying, I think I think you will see more games like what Nintendo is doing, where multiple people of varying skill levels can play together, in the same environment. Like Mario Galaxy 2, I believe, it just has that feature where it's like, one person who can deal with manipulating the camera and jumping over these, crazy 3D jumps, and one person just goes around and like collects this stuff. Like, I think a lot of that is perfect.
Besides the fact, that being a crazy game, they actually got that design mechanic right.
We
The
get
rest
to
of the
my
game,
opinion as a gaming parent.
Well, tell us what should your parents have done
I thought
for
we're
you?
over the 5-minute line.
We are, but
Yeah.
real quick.
You get 2 sentences.
Haiku
That's not a sentence.
Let's go to the next one.
I'm so glad that we extended time for that.
When it comes time to
me
edit,
tell you
I think I
parents how
know
to
where we're
parent,
going.
Here's my next question. So, the mobile space, all we've been hearing is kind of, free to play, free to play, free to play. That's the big trend. Everything's going free to play. And then, last month, 2 months ago, Square Enix releases Final Fantasy III for like $16, $17, something like that. And it is very well received by the community. People say, well, it's expensive, but it's a good game. It's worth it.
Yeah.
And has been doing, fairly well for them, I think. And in fact, they just announced The World Ends With You is coming to mobile for like $20, something like that. So my question is, do we think this is the start of a trend where we're going to start seeing, the free-to-play games, but the games where you're going to pay for them up front are actually going to be more expensive. They're going to be sort of in the $15 to $20 range, and that sort of $1 to $3 range is now no man's land.
I think you get to answer this first.
Yeah. All right.
You're not a parent.
I hope so. I've been playing Final Fantasy III on my Nexus phone, and it's awesome. It is a great.
Wow. Those guys back in the day, they knew how to write a game.
Yeah, no kidding. It's a great game. It's a great port, and the experience works. I mean, a lot of the more expensive premium games require very intricate controls, like Wolf was talking about. But Final Fantasy is a turn-based game for all battles, so it works really well on a phone. And I hope to see more of them.
Yeah, I think that we're going to see more of this. I think this is not just a fad. I think that Square Enix is the right company to come out and do this. They have a great catalog of amazing content. I mean, we all grew up idolizing the game, wasting our lives playing these games. Not wasting our lives, having lots of fun playing these games. And I think we're going to see a lot more of these companies that have back catalog of content bringing it over to this new medium and creating new content. Because right now, let's admit it, the 99 cents thing is fun and awesome, but sometimes you want something more.
Yeah.
And I think they're finding this new ecosystem because we've seen it happen on Steam, right? Steam, the price cap was actually pretty high, and then we started seeing that $12 to $18 range of titles start coming through the door and actually doing very well and monetizing very well there. And I think it's about time for that to come over to mobile. I'm encouraged by this. I want to see more of it.
Well, there's a repertory theater aspect to it too, where we're taking the games that do work.
Yes.
Unlike, I love Pen Triicelon. I do. It's a very strange game.
really from the name, I would not have expected
We're getting
that.
the greatest hits.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. We're going back and we're sorting through these things, and what are the things that where the UI isn't crazy and the cameras work and things like that, and bringing them forward. And in the cases like Nintendo, they're actually reimagining some of these things a little bit. Like when you sit down and play New Super Mario Brothers, you're like, oh, this world is shaped like that other world, but is not quite the same and a little easier.
The thing is, even though we are getting the greatest hits, Final Fantasy III is showing that genre and structure of game can work in the mobile space.
Which we've been missing,
So
right? Like
maybe we're going to get new content, new games that are of that same structure, but they're modern.
There's an aspect where Square Enix has spent millions upon millions of dollars marketing these games when they originally launch. So they have this incredible warm feeling when they come out. If I were a custom developer, an indie developer who also had ambitions to build the next great Final Fantasy, marketing becomes a real important question there. Like, where are you going to get the money to build the brand awareness so that when people come there, they're like, damn, I'm spending $15 on that. One of the reasons why we all went out and dropped $60 on Final Fantasy, or 50 or 70 or whatever you paid at the moment at which it came out.
Wait back.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever day, whenever you bought it.
I don't know where you bought
$54.
yours.
Yeah.
Mine was $16.
That's what she said it cost, so I just paid it. No,
going to the wrong sites.
Yeah, but that we wanted to pay it because we'd seen the trailers and we'd seen the things and gotten the hype, and we were like, yeah, $15, I'm there, I'm going to do it. And I think that's part of the emotional play you have to make as a developer.
For when I first played Final Fantasy 2 or 4,
depending on whether you're using which numbering system you're using,
the hype was the playground hype. It was, holy crap, I rented this game over the weekend. It was amazing.
Renting. You remember back when kids rented games?
Oh, yes.
Wow.
Yes. Get on your bicycle, bike over to Jumbo Video, and get yourself a game. Yes.
You'd have like the instruction manual that was like typewritten, because that was the one thing that like they couldn't actually.
I actually remember going with my friends. Maybe this doesn't translate to America, but Canadian Tire, where they actually have their own currency. Canadian Tire dollars.
They have their own credit cards and stuff too. It's like the most popular credit card in Canada.
Canadian Tire currency, it's like you get like maybe 1% back on all your purchases. And my friends somehow saved up $70 worth of Canadian Tire money and bought Final Fantasy II. I remember going on that trip.
That should somehow become a T-shirt. I don't know how, where. If you make T-shirts and you're watching this
Canadian
stream, make that into a T-shirt. I will buy it. Also, if you're out there and you make T-shirts and you make any Metroid T-shirts, I will also buy those.
All right.
Got to represent the Metroid.
All right.
We
have 10 seconds left.
Within 10 seconds, I want to say this, is that I really do want to come back to the concept of how do indie developers market in this new economy, because there's a lot of stuff there that we
I think that's a great topic. We could do a whole show on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Write that down.
Wait.
No.
Sorry, my thing. All right. Well, that was
I
sort
don't
of
know
over
how to
time.
stop it.
This modern technology.
All right, less businessy talk, more gamey talk.
Ooh.
Favorite boss fight? Start with you, John.
All right.
Or most memorable.
Actually, Final Fantasy IV. The end boss, Zeromus, the very same friends who went to Canadian Tire and bought this game, we spent an entire summer trying to beat this boss. We made it all the way through the game and then got stuck. And we just had to, we started, it was my first experience grinding in a game. Just leveling up. And it was like this huge trek just to get to the boss. There was no save spot right next to the boss, so it was like maybe half an hour of gameplay to get from the closest save spot to the boss, only to lose again and again and again. But the music and the graphics, it was amazing.
I was going to say, that doesn't sound like a positive experience. That sounds like...
But, you felt good when you're done.
Yeah, when we finally succeeded.
Your hand in the car door, eventually it feels great to stop.
Well, this was I guess a different era of gaming when we're all sitting together in front of a television. 5 of us playing and sharing the controllers and passing it around and trying again. So maybe it's more the time I had with my friends. But I will always remember the music and the graphics. And when you think you've beaten him, he does his death animation and then respawns in an even tougher mode.
Yeah.
Multi-stage
Final form.
Just the strategy in that was so difficult because you needed a white mage to constantly be healing and reviving people, and then like hoping that your turn to get an attack comes before, because he had a one-hit attack. If he attacked one of your characters, they were just dead.
Yeah.
Didn't matter how many hit points you had. So you constantly had to be reviving them and getting the timing right so you get in one hit before you're killed. It was awesome.
I like the strategy. For me, so many to pick from. Like one of the most memorable, I have to say, I ever had was actually Super Mario RPG. This was actually I'd missed the RPG genre until Super Mario RPG and loved it. Absolutely fell in love with it. There was one boss fight, and it wasn't really a boss. It was actually just one of the monsters, the NPCs in the game. Jinx. I don't know if you remember this, but in Monster Town, there was a specific door that you could open that would actually go and you could fight a little dude that was only like 8 pixels tall. His name was Jinx, and it was a martial arts dojo. And I remember this fight more than anything else because I could beat everyone else in the game. I actually beat the game, beat the end boss, the sword dude, and came back and still couldn't beat this guy. I actually spent more time trying to beat him, leveling up and trying to figure him out than I did the rest of the game entirely. That stuck out to me because it was an entire summer, like you said, it was just an entire summer of trying to figure out this guy's patterns, and I learned more about how to play the game fighting that one guy than the rest of the game. So.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna give my 2 quick ones, which are the giant fish in the lake in Resident Evil 4.
Yes. That was a good fight.
That was a good fight. It was just
that whole game is really interesting.
That game is so good.
That was a good game. Yeah, I mean there were a lot of memorable
with the
boss
Wii
fights
controls
in
too.
that.
It was something else.
Oh, I played it on the GameCube, and then I got it again on the Wii.
Yeah, on the Wii, it's just amazing.
I wasn't a huge fan of Resident Evil until Resident Evil 4, and that just completely.
Yep.
Oh, I spent quality time with Resident Evil.
And that was I think it was like the very first boss fight that you really kind of had in that game, and it just. Yeah, it was just
exciting.
it was a thrill ride.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, I think the first one is like the mob in that city. That took me in that
was,
rural town. That was really hard.
Well,
that was sort of like that felt like a movie. That sort of felt like movie pacing, where it's like in I don't know if you remember the kind of remake of Dawn of the Dead, where it's like you've got that crazy sequence at the beginning where Sarah Polly is like trying to get away from her household and finally ends up crashing in a ditch, and you realize you've been tense the whole time, and then the opening credits come up. It was kind of that feeling with Resident Evil 4.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
All right, so 2.
Okay.
Second boss. Oh, is that
yeah, the second boss. I'll just real quick. There's this very somewhat obscure game called Warning Forever. It was a Windows freeware game that was released, several years ago. I really want somebody out there to do a remake. I will buy it. So you got one customer.
Kickstarter project there.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic.
Warning Forever?
The entire game was just fighting. It was, sort of little spaceship battle.
Freeware 2D
The entire
fix.
game was fighting just these giant boss spaceships.
Oh, wow.
And every time you defeated one, the game would sort of algorithmically determine, okay, you spent your time attacking this way, and you got hit more often by this weapon, and it would sort of evolve and kind of dynamically create another boss monster for
a
you.
game that hates you even more.
So the game looks a lot like Life Force or Gradius.
It was that kind of Life Force, Gradius kind of theme.
Bullet hell.
Oh, great
Nice.
games.
Oh,
It's all right, but
I'm gonna go anyway.
Go anyway, because
That's right.
My
Fight the
favorite,
man.
my favorite boss battle is from was Pathways into Darkness. The giant blue worm that comes after you. You walk through this maze, and it takes forever, and you go and you go and you go, and then the guy is there, and all the way through you're picking up M16 ammo, and it's a survival horror thing. So he's like, I have so much ammo. Oh, this is so good. It was like the first survival horror game I'd ever played because it's back on the Mac. Bungie's one of their very first games. Get out there. Get the and you're like, woo, monster! And so you start unloading your M16 and you're stepping backwards because it's going at the same rate that you can walk backwards, and you end up walking backwards for what felt like an hour, but probably was more like about 2 minutes, backing up through the maze, unloading everything, and then running out of M16, and now you're back into your regular ammo, which you were saving for this thing, and you're shooting all that, and then you're eventually stabbing with your knife, and it dies right as you get out of the maze. It's beautiful, and it actually goes to what the role of AI in games is in the first place. And to me, it's always to lose, but at the last minute. And this was sort of our organizing principle when we were doing AI. It's like it wants to push you, but then
So was it actually set up so that
absolutely
when
they knew exactly how many bullets you had, and they knew how strong to make it. And they knew it to make a thing. And then actually, when I was playing a Resident Evil game, it was Resident Evil, maybe Code Veronica. I can't remember. remember. And at one point, you switch characters, and you have to go off and do this thing. And Resident Evil has those boxes that you put stuff in, and then it appears someplace else. It's like the uniform box. And so I was like, oh, this other guy's got this really tough thing. So I took my regular character and filled the box with everything. All she had was a pistol and 3 bullets. And then that character went off, and then I went to the other character, and he had this difficult quest, and he comes back. And then he meets up with her and gives her the antidote. And then all of a sudden a boss battle starts, and he's separated. And I was like, oh god, I only have 3 bullets. But the guys at Capcom had predicted that, and sure enough, I went bang, 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 and the guy died. And I was like, oh, I see. He has as many hit points as I have bullets. Yeah. I win! And I had all this
I
extra
want some of
shotgun
those
ammo.
bullets in every game, right?
Yes, exactly. All right, so anyway, let's keep going.
All right, we're going to keep going. Next question. Favorite setting, as in, like, fantasy world, not like, oh, I'm going to configure the anti-aliasing. That you
My
feel like
favorite
is
setting is anti-aliasing.
Yes. The land of anti-aliasing.
Is it favorite setting, or is it favorite least used setting?
Favorite setting that you feel like is underutilized, that you'd like to see more of.
Yes.
Are you?
Are we looking at me?
Oh.
Oh.
Hold on. We're taking a break for technical difficulties.
No, it's okay. You guys.
Are we paused or live?
Why don't you go while we're...
So I really think that fantasy's overdone. I know it's probably the most popular genre that's out there today. I think like 70% of all games are actually fantasy. People get it. People understand it. But to me, it's just way overdone. I know what a paladin is. I know what a cleric is. Give me something cooler. To be honest, I love sort of the slapstick style of things like Super Mario Brothers. And I know that's not a specific genre like an art style, but that sort of slapstick environment where the developer is not even taking themselves seriously in a lot of cases. Like, I'm an Italian plumber. I'm hopping on evil mushrooms, and then I'm going inside of pipes to collect coins. Like, what is that? Who even... So I really love those sort of crazy slapstick
That's
games.
Italy.
That's Italy. I've never been to Italy.
I apologize to our Italian viewers. Okay. Did you did you ever play the Grasshopper games like No More Heroes and No More Heroes?
Yeah, No More
Those
Heroes,
are very
that's- yeah.
slapstick.
Exactly.
I find them very loose technically, and so I get frustrated. This is the quality over
Right,
thing.
right.
I get frustrated by the gameplay. It's like
Yeah, the aesthetic of those games is so
It's-
interesting.
it's-
No More Heroes was so weird. Like, so much of that game was like mowing lawns, and
it was a strange.
Well, you
strange
can't be
game.
a hero while you're mowing a lawn.
you gotta
Makes
earn
no
some
more
money.
heroes.
You guys
Yes.
gotta get
Yeah.
done. Yeah, but I really like that. I feel that we're missing that in the modern area. We've got sort of like the Plants vs. Zombie styles, which kind of takes itself seriously, but doesn't. And I feel that's a great sort of setting that we need more of.
More kind of humor, sort of humor, not like maybe explicit humor.
Game developers take themselves way too seriously.
Well, you don't think every game should be brown and with light bloom?
Don't
and
forget the
sad?
crates.
Lots of
Post-processing
processing effects.
Yes,
It makes
well-
it look real.
Time to crate. You know about that measure, which every
yeah,
game is rated
yeah.
on the number of seconds until first crate appears.
Yes.
I've even seen slapstick games put a
Doesn't
crate
Quake
just in the middle of
2
nowhere. Just
start
crate.
with crate. Like, don't
Doom.
you?
Doom starts with crates.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Doom. The
yeah.
very first thing.
Every
you
id game starts.
There's a
with crate,
website that ranks all these.
Yeah,
isn't it?
exactly. This is
Perfect.
the number
That's
of
what you're
seconds
talking
to
about.
crate.
Number
Yeah.
of seconds until you see
Sorry.
a crate in the game.
I talked too long. Who's next?
Go.
What's the question?
In spite of
We're talking about crates.
Underutilized
Google Game
settings.
Dev.
I think underutilized settings. Warehouses.
I didn't realize.
More warehouses and parking garages.
Spooky mansions, warehouses, castles.
That's
yeah.
good. I was going to say I didn't think I liked westerns until I played Red Dead Redemption.
That's
Red Dead
great.
Redemption.
The setting is good. I sort of realized also, I was thinking about it on the way over, like that probably you couldn't have a good Western game until this generation of hardware, just because the worlds are so open and you don't have to worry about like cutting off the viewer's view every
Well, and
20
like
feet.
foliage. Let's be honest. Like
Foliage.
getting plants looking good is a very recent phenomenon.
Wait, it's a western? You're supposed to be in the desert.
Well, no, but
Well,
They've
there's
got
I don't know if you've been to the
tumbleweeds
desert,
and
but there are
sagebrush.
plants.
There are some plants.
They don't.
They're-
The westerns don't take place in the Sahara.
Yes. Yeah.
I probably spent 10 hours collecting flowers in Red Dead
Well, that was the
Redemption.
thing. That's of course. I mean, the design goal of that is to have you look at all the plants, right? I mean, like every game has these quests where it's like, look at the terrain very carefully because we paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to mark up all of these things.
Some graphics programmer is like, no, this is a quest.
You're going to look at my freaking fountain. That's what I'm saying. Do you know how long that took?
But the problem with that is I end up looking at the mini map the whole time because I think when those icons started showing up.
See, that's a whole gamer rant there. It's like mini map, not
Mini-map.
mini map.
Did
Did you see the Getaway where they were going to get rid of the mini map? SCEE did the Getaway, which is this game, and one of the design goals of the game was there was going to be no mini map.
Oh wow!
Because it was an open world game. They'd rigged all of London. All right, underused. London, no. It's very overused. And actually, my favorite setting ever for a video game was the inside of the Arc de Triomphe in Onimusha 3.
Oh wow!
That was awesome.
Yeah.
But anyway, they were going to have no minimap, but they still had to tell you where to drive. And so what happens is in the middle of these crazy car chases, your guy will signal, and he'll be like, "Oh, I should turn right."
Brilliant.
That is pretty smart.
It was like cool at the beginning because you really have this kind of intense kind of movie-like experience, but after a while it got ludicrous. You're like, why am I signaling? I'm being chased by like 70 cops. And I'm like, you know what I need to do? I need to signal.
Well, you have to obey the law.
Yes.
You don't want to get pulled over.
Exactly.
should
wanna
signal
hint to
one
the
way
cops
and then
which
turn
way.
the other direction.
Yeah.
And that'll throw them off.
Oh,
boy.
if we had better AI, we'd be able to do stuff like this. What's our next topic?
Did John go?
Yeah, I was going to say, why don't we have John go? And we are running
right,
low on
so-
time. I'm going to save this next one because it's a big topic, probably for next time.
All right.
That'll be like a teaser. 2 weeks from
Something-
now.
Tune in.
Suburban North America. It's a very underutilized setting for
Have
a
you
game.
been to the suburbs?
Suburban North America.
Nothing
You mean like
happens.
Mars
Well,
Attack style, Paperboy type stuff?
Yeah, that kind of
Martians Ate My Neighbors or whatever. What was
Yeah.
Zombies Ate My Neighbors?
Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Yeah, Zombies Ate My Neighbors. That kind of setting.
Well, I actually think realistic
agree.
settings are modern time settings. They're difficult because
Yeah.
you end up with uncanny valley problems
Yes.
and the
Yeah.
why is there a crate in my wife's bedroom kind of questions that go why
Time to create.
That is a question.
got a little weird
I
there,
thought
suddenly.
Modern Warfare 2 did it well. They had
Yeah,
an urban map, which was effectively just a shooter on rails that I really wished I could have explored more of the ecosystem there. But I thought they did it really well. They had an urban environment.
Well, people do it, and I mean,
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto 4, obviously,
Yeah, exactly.
you feel when you're driving through parts of it, you're like, my friend lives right here. But in general, I think it's a way to bring in players who aren't like science fiction and fantasy fans, and be like, this is something and now I'm going to do something weird to it to make
But
it
like
interesting for you.
Zombies Ate My Neighbors, or whatever that game was called, it could be in that like suburban setting, and then sci-fi happens.
Can you mix a sci-fi and a zombie?
Sci-fi zombies? Sure. Haven't you watched any of the Resident Evil movies?
Well,
That's
they're
all
sci
like-
zombies.
that's
yeah.
zombie-ized.
Serenity?
Serenity? Yeah, fair enough. Reapers, that's well done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
that's
they were pretty much
Sci-fi zombies.
There you go.
Well, and
There's rules though, and you just don't do
Well,
it.
yeah, like vampires shouldn't sparkle. Let's just get that out of the way right now. Make sure everyone knows where I stand on this issue.
if you are a viewer and you do believe vampires should sparkle, I think you need to comment on that.
Let us know. Add some follow-up questions for next episode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds good. We didn't have really any questions this time, so
that's okay.
maybe because we didn't answer most of them from last time.
Or-
But next time,
Learned helplessness.
I'd like you to fill out some questions.
Wait.
Wait.
Wait,
Oh.
Jimmy, we have a question. Jimmy, can we go to the live feed of the question? What do we got?
Hold on.
Hold on, he's
Hold
got
on.
to type
I've gotta-
faster.
I
Jimmy,
know, I
Jimmy,
gotta
we need that on
unlock
this
my,
monitor.
Jimmy, we got a question.
Ooh,
We have a question.
Fantastic.
where do you see gaming going with technology like Hangouts? I don't know if there's anyone here that really knows Hangouts.
Yeah, who works on Hangout?
That guy.
I think we
Good question. Thank you, by the way, Jay.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting things to do with Hangouts. I think Hangouts are, one of the things I say a lot when we talk about Hangouts is that, Hangouts are a room where you've gathered a bunch of people, and then Hangout apps are sort of the kitchen table that they're all sitting around. It's all the thing that they're all looking at and sharing. And you were talking about the couch experience with your friends. I think having a strict watch me play kind of thing might not be as much fun if you're not, it's a little screen and you're going to look away kind of thing. But I think a situation in which we're sharing an experience together and we can talk to each other. And I actually think that games, I would love it if somebody, actually we had that at a hackathon. Somebody had the OpenGL Quake running in a Hangout.
Nice.
They demoed a University of Washington hackathon we had in January.
Cool.
They had that. It was really neat. I did find my attention tended to focus on the shooting part and not nearly as much on the
Other people
on the
part.
people, people's heads. So I think you're going to have to bring the faces into the
Just put them on the crates.
So-
So every crate you pass by will just
Have someone's face on it.
So
Yeah.
was this this was that each person had their own instance of Quake.
They were all playing Quake together.
Got it.
But they had the lineup of.
And this is, I just want to make
Yeah.
sure, because this is different than what you would standardly see, which is like, hey, we're all in a hangout and we all see the same thing.
Yeah,
Everyone was seeing
that's the
something different.
YouTube watching somebody else play.
Got it.
There's the guy who he plays all the modern games and people shout stuff at him.
Yeah.
So
No,
what about like tabletop games?
Oh well,
With
there's Tabletop
Hangouts.
Forge, which we've talked about before on the show.
'Cause
It's
I'm pretty
really
sure
great.
some Facebook friends of mine play D&D
Oh god, yeah.
over Hangouts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Well, and see, that's a situation in which the people matter a lot in that
Yeah.
situation, and I think that's what makes Hangout games fun. Is
Yeah, because
when-
that is really about like.
and
there's-
shouldn't they be your Google Plus friends?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Okay. I was just trying to figure out
What did I say? Did I list some other social network?
I would like to see parlor games. I'd like to see more like charades. I feel
that'd
like
be
you
good.
can't do charades in any other environment
Pictionary.
beyond or even a game like Balderdash, which in theory it's the game where it's like you have this word that no one really knows, everyone writes definitions for it and try and guess which one's real. Like I feel like if I were just doing that in a chat room, everyone would be going off to Google and like looking up the word, and then it wouldn't be any fun. But I feel like in a hangout, the fact that you can see other people's faces and you know who they are and you're all kind of playing together, somehow I think would add that extra peer pressure to actually like play by the rules and play well. And
Well, I mean,
think
that's
it might
why
work.
that's why RPGs work. That we're all in a shared experience together, and we're going to enforce the rules on each other.
Yeah.
Although it's harder to cheat on dice rolls using Tabletop Forge because you actually everyone sees the roll.
So, quick question here. There's two separate discrete versions right now that we're talking about, which is like the YouTube style watch me play, and then everyone has their own version. Can you do both with the current Hangout APIs? Like, it would be fantastic. I see a scenario here where we're playing poker or something, and we have this shared environment that we can all see, but then we each have our own little view that we can manipulate before it goes in, right? Like I've got my view of the ecosystem. I've got my cards in my hand that I can see, but yet you can see on this larger screen what everyone else is raised.
Oh no,
It's like-
we do that already.
Oh,
Like,
cool.
if
So you can actually get two separate feeds.
Yeah,
it's really just
you can
one
actually
feed,
write.
but
Yeah,
it's-
it's one feed, but you're okay. You can share your screen, which is which is going to give you a low some view of what it is that you're seeing on your desktop right then. But games like games like Warlight, there's a shared map,
Right.
And then you see what you see through Fog of War, and other people see what they see through
Right.
Fog of War. So we have that. And if someone decided to haul out and make a bridge game, then that would be a great thing where you have your cards yourself.
My grandmother would love it.
Yeah. Well,
But would your grandma haul out and make it?
is she going to sit down, hack that out? for us?
No, it's hard enough to get her to turn on the computer.
And actually, interestingly, you can run two Hangout apps at once if you really wanted to have side chat like that, because you can run the extension on the side,
That'd
and
be
then.
great for Catan.
But anyway, yeah, like I said, games where people are important, I think, are games where Hangouts are going to be exciting. And I mean, I think lots of games are exciting in Hangouts. Those are the games I'm most excited about.
Very cool.
All right,
Jimmy, do we have any more on the live feed?
that's it.
No? Okay.
Any questions from Jimmy?
Jimmy? No, Jimmy's just an intern. That's okay.
So we are just about out of time. Like I said, we'll save this topic for next time, and we'll come up
do you want to
with-
announce it?
No, we'll keep
Well,
it
that might
secret,
lead to
'cause-
questions.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. All right, yeah.
Yeah, why
next
don't
time.
you
So next
announce the
time.
topic?
We are going to be
please?
talking about app discovery.
Yeah.
App discovery.
App discovery.
What kinds of apps are we discovering?
Well, so this kind of started with a article that you had sent me about the game 10 Million, spelled 10000000.
Yeah, with no commas, which meant I had no idea how many zeros were on it,
Yeah,
which makes it very difficult to find on search. Which
which sort of
Although not
by-
actually that hard, because you type 100, random number of zeros, and then type game, and then it will see. Do you
Google
mean
will know
10
which one
million?
you-
That's
I love Google sometimes.
Yeah.
You're smart like that.
I misspelled Ermagerd. Because I was looking for the meme, and it said, "Do you mean Ermagerd?"
Little picture of the meme.
Yes. No, it just said, "Do you mean Ermagerd?" I was like, "Yes, I do."
All right, we're out of time. Next week, app discovery. We'll give you more background next time.
Keep those cards and letters coming in.
Yeah, keep the questions coming. And
Jimmy, get that out of your mouth.
Jimmy's so
Interns.
Jimmy is irrepressible.
He's chewing
That's what
on
he
our.
is.
Okay. If he gets shocked again, it's on
iridescent.
you. All right,
right.
that's all for us.
That's all for us. Hopefully they're
All
fading us out, and we can continue to do that thing where we chat while they're fading out.
Well, that's
what
an
it
actual
looks like we're having.
valid
Yeah.
thing.
Oh, blah, blah, blah,
valid.
blah, blah,
Yeah, it's
blah,
rough.
blah.
You didn't learn that.